Alright, so we've now created our classic tween of the ball moving left to right, and some things to note is I had to re-record this, and I did not add the squish and squash. I don't want to add that until the end, just because I noticed that it kind of affects how the animation plays if you want to change the timing. So like right now I have it at 2 seconds. If I added the squish and squash, and then I did all of my animations, and I wanted to expand the timeline uh, to be 3 seconds long, so the animation would be 3 seconds instead of 2 seconds. The squish and squash that I added earlier was kind of making it slow down, like there was like a weird delay. So I just decided to take that out for right now and just focus on the left to right motion with a classic tween. And now we're going to go into this and do a nested motion tween. And this gets a little bit complicated because I have to go in to two different nests. So let's just start by going into this first part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the blue ball. And you'll see on the top it says scene 1 and then ball blue with a little square and a cog in the middle. This just lets me know that I'm working inside of this shape, and I have a brand new timeline here. So the first thing I want to do on the timeline is I'm going to name this ball emote because that's what it is. And then I'm going to lock it. No, first I'm going to expand it. Then I'm going to lock it. Now I'm going to do another layer, and I'm going to call this eye inner. And I'm going to do one more layer, and I'm going to name this eye lid. Now, you might be wondering why I'm doing this in two parts instead of just making one whole part of the eye, and that's because we're going to be doing two nesting motions here. We're going to create the eye aesthetically here, and then we're going to create the blink in our next nest, and that will all be in this one video. So the first thing that we're going to do is you'll notice that we've expanded the timeline. I'm going to make sure that we're back on the first frame. I'm going to go to the eye inner, and I'm going to just create a circle. In this circle, I want it to be a different fill color than the ball, and I don't want any stroke. If you have a stroke, it counts as a separate object, and that can affect the animation on the timeline. You'll notice that I don't have any stroke around the ball either. This is again just to keep everything simple. If you do have a stroke, that's not a problem. You're just going to want to make sure that it's all selected evenly and properly across the entire object so that nothing is being moved or twisted up as you're doing these. So I'm going to make a circle, and I am going to just select this, F8 to create a symbol, and I'm going to name this eye inner. Again, top left corner for the registration, movie clip, and it's just going into my library. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the eyelid layer, and I'm going to go to my tool, and I am going to make a rectangle. The rectangle needs to be the color of the circle, unless aesthetically you want a different eyelid color, but I think that it will not make the illusion look proper of the blink, so let's just for now keep the same color. The square needs to be big enough to completely cover that yellow circle that we just made. I'm just doing it over the top so I can test it, and then I'm going to move it up and place it more towards the center to create how I want. I'm then going to go ahead and hit F8, and I'm going to say eyelid. And what we're going to do is we just want to come over here, and what I'm actually going to do first is I'm going to select these two items together, and I'm going to put them into my circle where I want them. Right, and if you click on the layer, you'll see the items individually, but if you click off, it just looks like kind of a squinted eye. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to double click on the eyelid. Now we are nested inside of our nest. So now here was the left to right motion. Here was that inner eye and eyelid that we created. And now we're just in the eyelid. And I have to click on this item and make it a symbol. And I'm going to just say eye blink. I'm going to come to my 2 seconds and I am going to expand my timeline. And then I am going to add a keyframe at that 60 seconds. this is going to be where you decide where you want your blink animation. I'm just going to put my blink animation at 55. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to go and create a motion tween. Your timeline should turn yellow. And what I can do now is I can just use my arrow key, drag that square down, and that should be it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up to Control, and I'm going to hit Test. And now you see I have a blinking eye on my ball that is moving left to right. So that's good. We're going to go back to this middle nested area where we had the eyelid and the inner eye, and we're going to select both the eye and the inner eye, and we're going to hit F8, and we're going to call this eye hole. So why did we do that? Well, that is because we created that animation, and now this eye hole symbol is going to have that animation with the placement of the eye inner and the eyelid that we made. So if I delete the eyelid and I delete the eye inner and I create a new layer called eyes, I just drag this eye hole right out here. And I can place it where I want it to be. I'm going to go to Control and I'm going to hit Test. Now you see I have two blinking eyes and a ball that is moving left to right. So this is the conclusion of the motion tween with the nested bits. And I am going to just add a end frame here at my 2 seconds on my timeline. The next video, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going into shape tween and I'm going to be explaining how to do a layer mask to create the mouth and complete this animation.